both on the executive and legislative side, that is needful to ensure that people do what needs to be done. That's the way to evaluate realism. Realism is not accepting your failure rate as this. Realism is related to the capacity that reasonably exists.
But Director General, in fairness, nobody is asking that we maintain status quo. Every Nigerian, every patriotic Nigerian wants the country to grow. The question is, when we're evaluating realism in respect of the budget, if we know that this is what you said we haven't closed the year, certainly as of September, if we're 155, we can't expect that we're going to make up 74% failure in the last 3 months.
No, I'm sorry, it doesn't. This is not revenue that accrues. This is operating surpluses. The agencies, first of all, compute their performance results for the year, and they determine what is level of operating surplus they have made. And then the law mandates them to remit % of that, to the CRF. So, I mean, they first have to compute. It is not like something that happens on a daily basis. It's not revenue that accrues on a daily basis, that if you say by September you're at 155, then there's absolutely no possibility of you can be at 155 by September and do 300 in the last 3 months, if that's what. So it's not, it doesn't follow.
But how would you explain VAT, for example? We saw in the 2017 budget a failure rate of about 47% on our VAT projections. Going into 2018, we're looking at potentially something similar. What would you say about VAT? Because there seems to be a consistency in this trend.
Again, when you talk about this thing, look, the year has not closed. Okay, so until the year closes, you will not. So, for instance, if you take VAT, there are institutions, there are organizations that have collected VAT that were due to be remitted, and they haven't. And, FIRS is actively pursuing them. So the fact that as of 30th September, and when you talk about 47% failure rate, there is, and I admit that is a simplistic assumption that is made in government budgeting, to assume that everything accrues evenly over the year. So what happens is you take the VAT budget for the full year and you divide it by 4 and say a quarter will be delivered in each quarter. The reality out there is that it doesn't necessarily follow that pattern. So until the year closes, you can't really speak about a failure rate. I mean, you can say the run rate seems to be, running behind, but not a failure rate.
Just yesterday we had the opportunity to interview Senator Sabi Abdullahi, and he was speaking about the Senate's recent reaction to the 2018 budget proposals. And one of the things that came up was this notion that the executive branch has in some ways deceived the legislature concerning this kind of promise that if a minimum of 40%, for example, of the budget is executed within this calendar year, that the remaining 60% would roll over into the 2018 budget. They are claiming that when they have looked through the 2018 budget proposals, that these are two different documents, the 2017 budget on one hand and the 2018 budget. What would you say to this idea that there's a lack of consistency when you talk about a budget of consolidation between the two budgets?
I beg to seriously differ. Part of what amazes me is, the budget is actually a public document, and this administration, more than any other, has tried to democratize the budget. If you go to the website of the budget office, the entire budget proposal is there. We've put even just the 2,000-page document. The full budget document in the full level of granularity is over a 7,000-page document. A lot of people read the bill, which is a 4-page document, and that's the basis on which they comment. When you look at the budget itself, look at the budget document. As I said, it's in the public domain. There is a column when it comes to the capital budget side, indicating what projects are ongoing and what is new. Check it. You will see that the bulk of the capital projects, included in the 2018 budget are classified as ongoing. So how can you say that there is no, there's a disconnect between that and the 2017 budget. In reality, most capital projects are designed as multi-year projects. They don't begin and finish in 1 year. So oftentimes you hear people talk about repetitive. That's reality. Even the fact, for instance, that you have purchase of, say, these chairs in 2016, 2017, 2018, that doesn't make it repetitive. It might just be that agency needs to buy a total of 100, of those chairs. However, the resources available don't make it possible to buy all of the 100 in 1 year. So it is possible. In 1 year, there's a provision to buy 30. In the next year, there's a provision to buy another 30. In the third year, there's a provision to buy the balance of 40. Does that make it repetitive? No. I think that people should engage more. We have, the country, the president signed on to the Open Government Partnership in July of 2016. There's in there, one of the major tracks is the fiscal transparency and accountability track. And under that, about 70 to 80% of what the country has committed to do revolves around budgetary reform, opening up the budget, the open budget index. We're making strong progress on our open budget, indices. This information is available. We have on our budget site, budget website, we have what we call the Citizens Portal. That's a platform for engagement. We put out lots of information about the budget. People can go there, ask questions so that they can comment from a standpoint of understanding. I listened to a lot of the commentary on the budget from on this platform.